Hebrews, Hebrews, Hebrews. You guys tie your shoes up tonight. Get you some popcorn. We're gonna the Prophets of Awakening. That's our Israelite Advanced Bible Study night, September 20th, 2022. For those that don't know, the Red Heifers have arrived in Israel. So the topic for tonight is the Red Heifers are here. So let's talk. Okay, let's talk about it. I'm asking everybody to like, share, subscribe to Prophets of Awakening. Hit the notification button if you can. And if you like the content, this is a non-Messianic channel. Okay, we deal with Tanakh and the Torah. Tanakh is the Old Testament, so-called Book of Remembrance, that ends with Malachi, and Torah is the first 5 books of the Old Testament that was given to Moses on Mount Sinai by our Lord and Redeemer, the Lord of hosts. So when you go to our channel, you can expect for these videos to connect some dots for you and bring you to the truth of the scriptures, the real truth. Okay, we're going to do our moment of silence, prayer, psalms, current events, and then we'll go into a little need to know information, and then some Q&A, and we go right into the topic at hand. Okay, so this moment of silence is for the Lord of hosts and all that he's doing to bring about our soon deliverance from the land of our oppressors, from which we were scattered. Okay. Oh Lord, we come before thee this day, giving you, thanking you and honoring you for your, and worshiping you for all that you have done. We are worshiping thee because of thy great steadfastness and might. Oh Lord, you delivered our forefathers out of Egypt and Babylon with a show of great force. Oh Lord, you foretold that you would deliver us from the hands of our enemies, the Gentiles, in this day. Just as your servant Daniel examined the book of Jeremiah and realized you're coming. Oh Lord, you have opened up our eyes to these books that we have that's been hidden from us. And you, oh Lord, you have you have discovered that you foretold the prophets that you are coming to deliver us. We are waiting and seeking you, O Lord, at this hour, seeking and waiting for your return. Tarry not, O Lord, stretch forth thine hands upon our enemies and scatter them. Come from thy holy habitation and turn back our captivity. Peace be unto you. Okay? So with that being said, I'll read a little song right quick. Okay? Mm-hmm. Okay, it's Psalm 32. It's the blessedness of forgiveness. It's a Psalm of David. Blessed is he whose transgressions is forgiven, whose sin is covered. Blessed is the man unto whom the Lord imputeth not iniquity, and in whose spirit there is no God. When I kept silent, my bones waxed old through my ruin all the day long. For day and night the hand was heavy upon me. My moisture is turned into the drop of summer. Selah, I acknowledge my sin unto thee, and my iniquity have I not heed. I said, I will confess my transgressions unto the Lord, and thou forgavest the iniquity of my sin. Selah, but this shall everyone that is godly pray unto thee in a time when thou mayest be found. Surely in the floods of great waters they shall not come nigh unto him. Thou art my hiding place. Thou shalt preserve me from trouble. Thou shalt compass me about with songs of deliverance. Selah, I will instruct thee and teach thee in the way which thou shalt go. I will guide thee with mine eye. Be ye not as the horse or as the mule, which have no understanding, whose mouth must be held in with a bit and a bridle, lest they come near unto thee. Many sorrows shall be to the wicked. But he that trusteth in the Lord, mercy shall compass him about. Be glad in the Lord, and rejoice, ye righteous, and shout for joy, all ye that are upright in heart. Okay, that was Psalm 32. The blessedness of forgiveness. It's a song of David. Anybody got any comments on that? Okay, Psalm 32, verse 11. I'm just going to read it again. It speaks for itself. Be glad in the Lord, rejoice, ye righteous, and shout for joy, all ye that are upright in heart. Okay. With that being said, we're going to do a little current events. Okay, Shalom. Okay, here we go.
The disaster we're about to witness didn't have to happen. The desperate attempt to control this horrifying inflation spiral is absolutely crushing the U.S. housing market. And we are all going to feel the impact of the coming crash. In recent years, irresponsible monetary policies were put in place, fueling an unprecedented inflation boom that sent housing costs to extreme levels. Now, policymakers at the central bank and politicians in Washington are scrambling to tame the beast they unleashed by themselves. But everyone knows that rapidly rising interest rates are going to wreak havoc on financial markets, and most notably in the housing sector. When mortgage rates soar higher, more and more potential home buyers are pushed to the sidelines. Fewer buyers mean fewer sales, which translates into downward pressure on home prices. This is basic economics. You don't need to be an expert to understand any of this, but it seems that Fed officials are either clueless or very much aware that what they're doing is going to be exceedingly destructive to the U.S. economy as a whole, but they're still waiting for some magical solution to come about to dig us out of this hole. Once again, the housing market is in shambles, and we're on the cusp of a housing collapse that'll make the 2008 crash look like a Sunday picnic. That's what we're gonna expose today. But before moving on, please give us your support with a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss our future videos. Do you remember the pain that we all went through in 2008? Well, a similar scenario is now unfolding right before our eyes. Only this time, things are about to get a whole lot worse. Even though many people in the industry who, by the way, have been benefiting from the growth of the housing bubble over the past 2 years, keep telling us there's nothing to worry about and that we will never, ever experience another housing collapse, the data has been telling us a completely different story. In fact, something that hasn't happened in the market since 2008 actually happened again last week. According to data released on Thursday, the average interest rate on a 30-year fixed-rate mortgage rose above 6% for the first time since the financial crisis. A Freddie Mac report detailed that the average mortgage rate for the benchmark home loan rose to 6.02% last week, up 0.13 percentage points from the week prior, and 3.16 percentage points above its level a year ago. It's the first time the 30-year fixed-rate mortgage rate was above 6% since the week of November the 20th, 2008, the analyst highlighted. As the financial experts at Zero Hedge perfectly summarized, at the end of the day, the jump in mortgage rates, a welcome development by the U.S. Central Bank, which now wants to unleash a crippling recession on the U.S. economy, is one of the most pronounced effects of the Federal Reserve's campaign to curb inflation by lifting the cost of borrowing for consumers and businesses and crushing demand for all levered purchases. The truth is that higher interest rates predominantly hurt low and middle-income Americans, while the wealthy can still afford to purchase homes because many of them don't even need mortgages. They can just buy them with cash. But for the rest of us, aggressive rate hikes make a world of difference. Each and every increase adds hundreds of dollars or more to the monthly cost of a potential buyer's mortgage payment, slowing what was a red-hot market not so long ago. Since the start of the year, the average mortgage payment has surged 38.5% to $2,306 from about $1,700 just back in January. With mortgages weighing even more on already expensive home prices, mortgage demand is drying up really fast right now. Numbers released by the Mortgage Bankers Association showed that the number of applications plunged by nearly 30% compared to a year ago, and the number of applications to refinance mortgages has fallen off a cliff, with refinancing activity collapsing over 80%, MBA revealed in the new report. Refinancings, in particular, have slowed down because higher rates erode the benefit for most homeowners. With rates essentially double where they were a year ago, applications for home loans have dropped. Applications to refinance into a lower payment are down 83% from a year ago, researchers noted. Today, only 452,000 homeowners in the entire country would be good candidates for refinancing that lowers their rate by at least 0.75 percentage points, according to an analysis by Black Knight. That is down from a peak of over 19 million in 2020. In September 2021, mortgage originations topped $4.4 trillion, but this year they're expected to be cut by half of that amount, the association forecasted. Higher rates have contributed to more home buyers staying on the sidelines, explained Joe Kahn, MBA's Associate Vice President of Economic and Industry Forecasting. With real median household incomes remaining relatively unchanged, many first-time home buyers are finding the door to home ownership is closed for this season, he added. Kahn also noted that with borrowing costs set to continue rising in the next few months, it's becoming increasingly clear that home prices need to decline to bring balance back to housing markets. He said many sellers are recognizing the shift in market conditions and are responding by cutting their asking prices. The boom that led to record profits for the real estate sector over the past couple of years is turning into a painful burst for everyone currently involved in real estate. The chief economist at Redfin, Darryl Fairweather, says that the ongoing meltdown is the deepest since the previous crash. She outlined in the recent interview, "This is the sharpest turn in the housing market since the housing market crash in 2008. We haven't seen interest rates this high since 2008, 2007, so it is a big change from the housing market we've all gotten used to. Buyers just don't have the 40% extra money to put towards housing every month," Fairweather continued. A lot of
Okay, any comments on that?
The rental market is going up just as well. I mean, everything across the board is going up, from
Right.
rent to electric to food, the whole 9 yards. So, like he said, a lot of us, it's going to get to a point where we're not going to be able to afford the increases because, it's going up, but your money not going up.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So it's I mean, like I was saying before, they get warned everybody back in 2008, and it came down the pipe just like they said, and they're doing the same thing now. But for some reason, people are, disregarding it. Okay, got one more of these. Let me see. I got some need to know information right here.
Hello and welcome back to the channel. So, first of all, thank you to Sister Cece for sharing this story with us. They are saying that there is an STD epidemic in the US, and apparently it's getting out of control. Why am I not surprised by that? Are you surprised? Not at all. A country that prides itself on uh, doing whatever it wants to do when it wants to do it, and no one has a right to ask any questions, of course, something like this would be out of control because they literally want you to believe that you are the problem if you have a problem with them doing what it is they want to do without consequence. They think there are no consequences, but apparently there are. So we are going to get into the details of this story.
It's recommended that you replace your air filters every
what they're talking about. So it says an STD epidemic in the U.S. is out of control, warns the CDC. Sharply rising cases of some sexually transmitted diseases, including a 26% rise in new syphilis infections reported last year. Now, these are prompting U.S. health officials to call for new prevention and treatment efforts. It is imperative that we work to rebuild, innovate, and expand STD prevention in the U.S. Okay, so breaking away from the article for a moment. They want to do prevention, but when you talk about abstinence, nobody's trying to hear that. Folk need to realize and understand that the Most High allows these diseases to happen for a reason because people want to do what they want to do when they want to do it, with whom they want to do it with, whenever they want to do it. You see, and they don't want you to ask any questions or say anything about it. And so, of course, that's where these diseases are coming from. It's coming from that whole idea and thought of it's your thing, do what you want to do. That's where it's coming from. Do as thou wilt. That's where it's coming from. Folk want to do what they want to do, but they don't understand that there are consequences. So back to the article, it says, infection rates for some STDs, including gonorrhea and syphilis, have been rising for years. Last year, the rate of syphilis cases reached its highest since 1991, and the total number of cases hit its highest since 1948. It says HIV cases are also on the rise, up 16% last year. And an international outbreak of monkeypox, which is being spread mainly between men who have sex with other men, has further highlighted the nation's worsening problems with diseases spread mostly through sex. David Harvey, executive director of the National Coalition of STD Directors, called the situation out of control. So, again, you have people out here doing what they want to do, with whom they want to do it with, whenever they want to do it. Men with men, men with women, women with women, some folk with animals. So you have folk out here doing these kind of things. But then when the consequences come about, everyone wants to pretend like they don't know what the heck's going on. So you mean to tell me you really didn't know that this was a possibility with you going from person to person, doing all of this exchanging of you know what? Officials are working on new approaches to the problem, such as home test kits for some STDs that will make it easier for people to learn they are infected and take steps to prevent spreading it to others. My thing is this, don't get it in the first place. Why take steps after you think you done got an itch or some type of thing going on? Prevention starts before. Doesn't this sound ridiculous? It sounds ridiculous to try to prevent it after you think you've gotten something. Mm, mm, mm. So, another expert said a core part of any effort must work to increase the use of condoms. Increase the use of condoms. Increase the use. Okay. So, again, they're basically saying keep on doing your thing, do what you want to do, right? I can't tell you who to sock it to. They just saying, look, forget about the Most High, forget about the laws of the Most High, sleep with who you want to sleep. But this is essentially what they're saying when they tell you to use condoms. You have to understand it's a mindset that goes along with the person who is sleeping around in the first place. They don't want to use a condom because they feel like they're not going to get as much pleasure from using that as they would without it. How many decades have condoms been around? And you think, y'all just pushing another product that somebody can keep on getting fat and rich off of because condoms ain't worked in all these years, these decades. What makes you think it's gonna work now?
Okay, any comments? Yeah, they say there's a rise with the monkeypox, a rise with the STDs. Like she's saying, it's all part of disobedience to the Most High laws, and clock is running out. So yeah. So with that being said, I was gonna open it up for some Q&A. Anybody got any questions or comments about anything that they've been hearing over the on Prophets of Awakening or something they came across? Got any questions, brother? Okay. Shalom. Okay, so we go right on into the issue at hand. Like I was saying before, for those people that don't know, they had like 5 red heifers that they flew into from Texas. They flew them into Israel, land of Israel over the weekend. And these Israelis are ecstatic. They're going bonkers over me because, according to them, and according to their understanding of the scriptures, it's a sign that the end times and this new temple is time to be built. So we're gonna talk about that. Okay. So with that being said, I wanted to go into the fact that this prophecy about this red heifer. Let me kind of give you a little bit of background on that first. Okay.
I'm going on an adventure. So there's only one way to figure it all out. Unzip the archaeology. Make it, mint it. I'm calling him. He's coming. A few years ago, a cow was born in Israel. Her name was Melody. She was special. She was pure red from nose to tail. And that got a lot of people excited. Rabbis from Jerusalem, Pentecostal pastors from Oklahoma, CNN reporters, everyone took an interest in Melody. Why? Because they all wondered, was Melody a sign of the apocalypse? That's because Melody was connected to here. Most scholars believe that the great Jewish temple once stood here on the Temple Mount. Jewish and Christian prophecies say that rebuilding the temple will signal the end of days. But there are a few problems with building the temple. You can't build it unless those who walk its grounds are purified. The Torah, the 5 books of Moses, says that can only be done with the ashes of a pure red heifer ritually sacrificed.
Okay, so we see that red heifer, they need this red heifer in order to so-called cleanse Jerusalem. So I'm gonna go with another some more in-depth understanding of that. Okay.
Bulls and do you know what? They can't do that. So why do the Jews need this red heifer? I'll tell you why they do. The Jews need this red heifer because they need the ashes of a perfect red heifer in order. Why is it an end time sign? I'm going to tell you about that coming right up. How beautiful are you, Lord? So recently, the Temple Institute has issued an update on their 2 red heifer candidates. But what is the red heifer? So I'm glad you asked. The red heifer comes from Numbers chapter 19 in the Bible, and in verse 2, it says, "This is the ordinance of the law which the Lord has commanded, saying, Speak to the children of Israel, that they bring you a red heifer without blemish, in which there is no defect, and on which a yoke has never come." So, because it's a heifer, that means it's a cow, a female. And because it has to be red, it has to have all of its hairs red. It cannot have even 2 hairs that are not red. And it says without blemish. That means this red heifer cannot have any imperfections or injuries throughout its entire life. And then it also says no defect. That means the red heifer cannot have any birth defects whatsoever. And it also says a yoke has never come. So the red heifer must have never have had a yoke placed on it. It could never be used for work. You couldn't sit on it. You couldn't lean on it. And it could never do any work, even the labor of childbirth. You know what that means? That means it can't hang around with bulls and do, you know what? It can't do that. So why do the Jews need this red heifer? I'll tell you why they do. The Jews need this red heifer because they need the ashes of a perfect red heifer in order to reinstate and rebuild the temple. And so this is why it's so exciting for the Jews, the fact that the Temple Institute has announced an update for their 2, that's right, 2 red heifer candidates. Because an old rabbi by the name of Maimonides, he states that the red heifer has to be offered up in its 3rd or 4th year. In other words, they're going to do this soon. or at least they want to. So how would the Jews get the ashes of this red heifer? Good question. Here's what it says in the Bible. In Numbers chapter 19 again, in verse 3, it says, "You shall give it to Eleazar the priest, that he may take it outside the camp, and it shall be slaughtered before him." So a Jewish priest needs to have this red heifer and needs to take it outside the camp. That means it still has to be in Jerusalem, but it cannot be on the Temple Mount near where the temple will be built. But it has to be outside of the Temple Mount area. And get this, according to the Temple Institute, they're getting ready to offer up a red heifer when it becomes available on the Mount of Olives. And the priest needs to burn this entire red heifer. And here's what it says in Numbers chapter 19, in verses 5 and 6. It says, "Then the heifer shall be burned in his sight, its hide, its flesh, its blood, and its offal shall be burned. And the priest shall take cedar wood and hyssop and scarlet and cast them into the midst of the fire, burning the heifer." And then according to verse 9, they gather up all the ashes of this red heifer, and that's how they get the ashes of this perfect red heifer. And once they get the ashes of this perfect red heifer, they take these ashes and they mix it to create what's called the water of purification. It says it is for purifying from sin. So you see this water of purification that comes with the ashes of this perfect red heifer are needed because they have to consecrate over the Jewish priests and the temple furnishings, or else they cannot use the temple, the priesthood, or the furnishings to do the sacrificing for sin and the other offerings as per the laws in the book of Leviticus. So here's the deal. For the Jews today, the red heifer and the ashes of the red heifer they'll gather signify the coming of the building of the third temple in Jerusalem. And check this out. From the time of Moses in the Exodus to the destruction of the second temple in the year 70 AD by Rome, Maimonides wrote that there's only been 9 perfect red heifers. That's it, only 9. So in the last 2,000 years, guess how many red heifers there have been? 0. That's right, there has not been any. And check this out. This rabbi wrote and believed that the 10th red heifer will actually be brought by Messiah. So many Jews today that want to rebuild the temple in Jerusalem on the Temple Mount hold that this 10th red heifer will be the last red heifer and will usher in the era of Messiah. So according to Jewish prophecy, why is this exciting? Because this slaughtering of the 10th red heifer will indicate that the third physical temple, that's right, like the Bible prophesied, will have to be built. And according to the Jews, they cannot build it anywhere else on planet Earth except for in Jerusalem and on the Temple Mount. And check this out. The priest that slaughters the red heifer on the Mount of Olives needs to take the blood of this red heifer and sprinkle it toward the Temple Mount area. And this rabbi wrote, quote, that he should direct it toward the sanctuary and see the sanctuary. Think about what that might mean. So because the priest that slaughters this red heifer and takes his right hand and sprinkles the blood towards the Temple Mount area, and this rabbi wrote that he would, quote, see the sanctuary. This may indicate that the temple has to be built around the time that the sacrifice of the red heifer takes place. And so for those of us who believe that Yeshua, or Jesus, is Messiah, we believe, like he said in the book of Matthew, chapter 24, when Yeshua was talking about the end times, or what we Bible students call eschatology. Here's what he said in Matthew chapter 24, verse 15. Therefore, when you see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet standing in the holy place, and then Matthew gives you an aside, a parenthetical statement, and he says, whoever reads, let him understand. So that means us Bible students, we should go back to Daniel the prophet's book and take a look. And here's what he says in Daniel chapter 9, verse 27. then he shall confirm a covenant with many for 1 week. That's a period of 7 years. But in the middle of the week, or 3.5 years into this period, he shall bring an end to sacrifice and offering, and on the wing of abominations shall be one who makes desolate, even until the consummation which is determined is poured out on the desolate. And then Paul the Apostle writes about this in his book that we call 2 Thessalonians in chapter 2 and verses 3 and 4, where he writes.
Okay, so I hope you got a better understanding of it. So I'm going to read Numbers 19, referring to this red heifer. Okay, then we'll move forward. It says, Numbers 19, and the Lord spake unto Moses and unto Aaron, saying, this is the ordinance of the law, which the Lord hath commanded, saying, speak unto the children of Israel that they bring thee a red heifer without spot, wherein no blemish, and upon which neither came a yoke. And ye shall give her unto Eleazar the priest, that he may bring her forth without the camp, and one shall slay her before his face. And Eleazar the priest shall take up her blood with his finger, and sprinkle of her blood directly before the tabernacle of the congregation 7 times. And one shall burn the heifer in his sight, her skin, her flesh, her blood with her dung shall he burn. And the priest shall take cedar wood and hyssop and scarlet and cast it into the midst of the burnt with the heifer. Then the priest shall wash his clothes, and he shall bathe his flesh in water, and afterwards he shall come into the camp, and the priest shall be unclean until the evening. And he that burneth her shall wash his clothes in water, and bathe his flesh in water, and he shall be unclean until evening. Okay? And this man that is clean shall gather up the ashes of the heifer, and lay them up without the camp in a clean place, and it shall be kept for the congregation of the children of Israel for a water of separation. It is a purification for sin. Okay? So you see, we're going to go into that and break it down, because their interpretation of the land being cleansed is different than what Scripture is talking about. So the reason why we have this conversation is because we're right here. Play this and then we go in.
We interrupt the rabbi because the red heifers are arriving right now. You see,
over the weekend they had 5 red heifers.
This is the moment.
They flew in from Texas and brought them into Israel.
They've arrived, and we're about to see them for the first time here in the land of Israel. You can see them peeking out. They look beautiful. Perfect. They just look perfect. They look happy, content. Wow, these look like the finest red heifers from around the world. Wow, this is really amazing. They're frightened by all the activity going on around them. I think anybody watching on our Facebook feed is probably getting the best shot of anybody in the world, the best view of these heifers right now. They are beautiful. This is the first time that there's been such a welcome committee to greet some red heifers who have the potential to change everything, to change history, to change the direction of where we're going in the world.
What is the significance of a red heifer in the Bible? And is a red heifer a sign of the end times? According to the Bible, the red heifer, a reddish-brown cow, probably no more than 2 years old, which had never had a yoke on it, was to be sacrificed as part of the purification rites of the Mosaic Law, the slaughter.
Okay, so anybody got a comment so far? No comments? Okay, let me answer this right quick before I go in. Yeah, so you said Isaiah 27:9, and it's talking about let me read right quick. 27:9 says, by this therefore shall the iniquity of Jacob be purged, and this are all the fruits to take away the sin, when you make it all the stones of the altar as chalk stone that are beaten asunder, groves and images shall not stand up. So when you right divide that, if you go to we've been there on several occasions where 2 Samuel, the Most High made the Lord of hosts made a covenant with David. He's always going to have a seed out of David's throne that he's going to raise up in Israel likened unto David. We know we had a bunch of kings that was wicked, but you'd have a bunch of wicked kings, then he raised up a righteous king, one that would return the people, restore Israel. So I'm going to give you an example of what we just read with Josiah. Okay, we'll go to 2 Kings right quick. So we had a bunch of wicked kings that they Baal worshippers. They had the priest of Baal, and you know they had all the stuff, wicked stuff. They had groves and images like he just quoted in Isaiah 27:9. And then let's look at it. Okay. And then Josiah came on the scene, right? Josiah reformed. I'm in 2 Kings 23:4. And the king commanded Hilkiah the high priest and the priest of the second order and the keepers of the door to bring forth out of the temple of the Lord all the vessels that were made for Baal and for the grove and for a host of heaven, and burn them without Jerusalem in the field of Kidron, and carry the ashes of them into Bethel. And he put down the idolatrous priests whom the kings of Judah had ordained to burn in the incense in the high places in the cities of Judah and in the places round about Jerusalem, them also that burn incense unto Baal, to the sun, and to the moon, and to the planets, and to all the hosts of heaven. So you go back and you'll see that Hezekiah did this. All these righteous kings that the Bible tells you did that which was right in the sight of the Lord. They came in and cleaned up what those wicked kings had done before them. So, and just for GP, you go to Isaiah 9:6. Under us a son is born. This is the son he's talking about. He's always going to raise up a righteous son to Israel that's going to bring them back to him, back to the Lord of hosts. And they're going to do what was quoted in Isaiah 27:9. Okay. So with that being said, we get back over here. Shalom, bro. So anyway, so with this red heifer, they telling us that they looking to bring this red heifer in and to cleanse the land of Israel. But if you notice, this red heifer was for to cleanse the people. Let's read it right quick. Just like you got Sabbath day, you got a Sabbath year. Okay, Sabbath year is for the land, and Sabbath day is for mankind. 6 days he worked, 7 days he rest. 6 days you till the ground. 7th year you allow the ground to rest 1 year. So go back over here where we was at in Numbers 20:19, right? Numbers 19. Okay. Numbers 19 in verse 9. So it says, You can read it from 1 to 9. I'm just showing you what this red heifer for. And a man that is clean shall gather up the ashes of the heifer and lay them up without the camp in a clean place, and they shall keep for the congregation and for the children of Israel for a water of separation. It is for purification of sin. It's for the people. It ain't for the land. So the problem we got right now, when you understand who we are, we the Israelites. People that's over there now is not the Israelites. So that's only for certain people. And you know what I'm saying? Those who have ears to hear, you know, eyes to see. I ain't talking to nobody else. Okay? So if you want to stay in the dark, stay in the dark. But anyway, so understand that we the Israelites, the land got to be cleansed. So let's go to Ezekiel 37 right quick. Tie your shoes up. Okay? So we in Ezekiel 37. 35, I mean, my bad. 35. So you see right here that Edom stole the land of Israel from Jacob. When Jacob was kicked out of the land, and not in the fourth beast, but in the third beast by Antiochus Epiphanes, the Antichrist. So that's like I said, that's for the people that understand. You know, it's videos. We got videos on YouTube, Prophet Awakening that explain all that. So I'm gonna read how the land supposed to get cleansed. You know what I mean? Ezekiel 35. Moreover, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, right, Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir, this Edom, right, and prophesy against it, and say unto it, Thus saith the Lord God, Behold, O Mount Seir, I am against thee, and I will stretch out my hand against thee, and I will make thee most desolate, and I will lay thy cities lay thy cities to waste, and thou shalt be desolate, and thou shalt know that I am the Lord. Because, all right, you understand what happened. Esau was the one in the book of Obadiah that killed the remnant. The Most High always leave a remnant in the land of Israel to let them know the Israelites they coming back. But Esau, because he wanted to covenant the land, he killed the remnant. He shedded blood in the land. So the only way to cleanse the land, not the people, to cleanse the land is the person that perpetrated the fraud had to be, their blood got to be shed there. Okay? So it says, verse 4, I will lay thy cities to waste, and thou shalt be desolate, and thou shalt know that I am the Lord, because thou hast had a perpetual hatred, and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity had come to an end. So let's look at that right quick. We ain't going to stay there long. I'm in Daniel. So he says, verse 5, Ezekiel 35, because thou hast a perpetual hatred, and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity came to end. So Israel's sin that came to a full. So let's go here. It's not going to take you to the New Testament. So if you want to go to the New Testament, you might want to go somewhere else. But so I mean, chapter 8. This is about the ram and the he-goat, and then the angel Gabriel came into Daniel, and I'm gonna pick it up in 18. He says, now as he was speaking with me, I was in a deep sleep, with my face toward the ground, but he touched me and set me upright, and he said, behold, here we go. Now we're gonna see this thing got nothing to do with no New Testament. Behold, I will make thee know what shall be in the last end of indignation, for the time appointed the end shall be. It's the end of Israel as a nation. You're going to cut them off from being a nation, right? 20, the ram which I saw having 2 horns are kings of the Medes and Persians. The rough goat is the king of Grecia. The great horn between his eyes is the first king, as Alexandra. Now that being broken, whereas 4 stood up for it, 4 kings shall stand up out of their nation, but not in this power. And in the latter times, see that we in the third beast, right? In the latter times of their kingdom, when the transgressors come to a fool, a king of fierce countenance, understanding dark sentences, shall stand up, not not this Antiochus. This ain't no Antichrist in the future. 24. And his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power. He shall destroy, he shall prosper, he shall practice, he shall destroy the mighty and the holy people. Ain't but one holy people, that's Israel. So this king at the end of the third beast is going to destroy the holy people. He told him up here at the top what's going to happen at the end of Israel as a nation when they come to the end. So then 25 says, and through his policies, also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand, and he shall magnify himself with his heart, and by peace he shall destroy many, and he shall stand up against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken. We're gonna go into that later on. I'm gonna read that. It's in First Maccabees. They took it out of here because they want to lead you to the New Testament, where they concocted, but it's actually Antiochus Epiphanes. So we go to Obadiah right here. It's all tied. It's all happened the same. All these events is talking about the same thing. So I'm in Obadiah, one chapter, and I'm gonna pick it up in verse 10. It says, for thy violence against thy brother, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off. Talking to Esau. In the day that thou stoodest on the other side, in the day that strangers carried away captive his forces, foreigners entered into his gates, cast lots upon Jerusalem. Even thou was one of them. So my point I want to make too is that when Nebuchadnezzar came, he didn't cast no lots for Jerusalem. It was the Greeks came in, cast lots. So 12, we're gonna see that in a minute. But thou should have not looked on the day of thy brother, in the day that he became a stranger. Neither should thou have rejoiced over the children of Judah in the day of their destruction. See that? Neither should thou have spoken proudly in the day of their distress. Thou should not have entered into the gates of my people in the day of their calamity. Day of the calamity. Let's go back. Ezekiel 35, verse 5. Because thou hast had a perpetual hatred and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity came to an end. That's what Daniel was telling you. See that? This is when Antiochus came and ran the Israelites out. All of them for good. So they the ones who killed the Israelites. Esau would know that. He was raised by Abraham. So he killed the remnant in order to get the land. Then he cast lots for the land, the 12 tribes by lot. But when Joshua got there, Joshua divided the land up by lots. So when Esau came right here, he stole the land. And he started calling himself by the name of the Israelites. It's Judah, Benjamin, Levi. He stole the land, posing as the Israelites. So just for GP, for the people that ain't heard it, we're gonna go to Malachi right quick, then we'll get back on this. So in Malachi, this is just food for thought, right? So we in chapter 1 of Malachi. The burden of the word of the Lord unto Malachi. I have loved you, said the Lord. Yet ye say, wherein that thou loved us? Was not Esau Jacob's brother, said the Lord, yet I loved him. So notice he bringing up Esau right here. It's the last book of the Old Testament. And I hated Esau, and I laid his mountain and his heritage away for the dragons of the wilderness. So where's he at when he did this? 4. Whereas Edom said, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus said the Lord of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down. They shall call them the border of wickedness, and the people against whom the Lord have indignation forever. Then 5, and your eyes shall see, and ye shall say, the Lord will be magnified from the borders of Israel. They in Israel, and you ran them out. He brought the Romans and ran them out. Verse 4 says, when Edom said, we are impoverished, but we return and build the desert places. They came back in 1948. And so I just told you how the land gonna get cleansed. It get cleansed by the people that shedded the blood and killed the Israelites, the original, the real Israelites. So the Creator and brought them back. They came back in 1948. This ain't got a damn thing to do with the Red Heifer. So anyway, let's keep going. So we saw right there what they done in Ezekiel 35. I'm gonna read a little more of that. Ezekiel 35 and 6. Therefore, as I live, said the Lord God, I will prepare thee. See that? That's what we're looking at. I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee, since thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee. Thus will I make Mount Seir most desolate, and cut off from it him that passeth, and out and him that returneth, and I will fill his mountains with the slain men in thy hills, and in thy valleys, and in thy rivers they shall fall that are slain with the sword, and I will make their perpetual desolation, that the cities shall not return, and ye shall know that I am the Lord, because thou hast said, these two nations, you want to know where it said, these two nations, these two countries shall be mine, and we will possess it, wherein the Lord was there. So what two nations he talking about? The nation of Judah and the nation of Israel. It was split up during the time of Solomon, after Solomon died. So they came and stole the land and possessed it because he thought he had a right to, because he think that Joseph stole the land from him. So from 1940, let's look at it. From 1940, 143 BC is when they ran the Israelites out, to 70 AD, it's Esau living in the land, posing as the Israelites. Okay? So let's look at it. Okay. So we in First Maccabees, right quick. I'm gonna read that, then I'm gonna get back where I was at. Okay. It's for the listener that okay. First Maccabees. What I'm getting ready to read is gonna tie into what I'm getting ready to show you. Because it's a dark side to this, it's a dark side to this prophecy too. I'm gonna show you that. It came to pass after Alexander, here we go. We're picking up what Daniel said. It's been taken out, right? It came to pass after Alexander of Macedon, the son of Philip, who came from the land of Chechen, had utterly defeated Darius, right? King of the Medes, second beast, Medes and Persia, that he reigned in his stead, and as he had before reigned over Greece. And he waged many wars, captured fortresses, and slaughtered the kings of the earth. And he made his way to the ends of the earth and despoiled a multitude of nations. The whole earth was silent before him, and he became exalted, and his heart was uplifted. He mustered a very mighty army and ruled over lands and rulers of heathens, and they had him. They paid him tributes. Afterwards, he fell sick. Everybody should know this, and knew that he was going to die. So he called in his distinguished servants who had been brought up with him, and divided his kingdom among them while he was still alive. Alexander reigned 12 years when he died. His servants succeeded him. This is where the importance come in at. His servants succeeded him, each in their own dominion. After his death, they put on crowns, as did their sons after them, for many years, and they did much evil on the earth. They did much evil on the earth. There sprang from them a sinful shoot named Antiochus Epiphanes, king Antiochus. He had been a hostage in Rome, and he became king in the 137th year of the Greek kingdom. So this is the Greek kingdom. He became the king, right? Then it says, in those days there arose out of Israel, in the land of Israel, lawless men who persuaded many. Here we go. We go to plan, the 7-year plan. Let us go and make a treaty. We go to treaty. 7 years with the heathen around us. For ever since the time that we became separated from them, many misfortunes have overtaken us. The plan, the 7-year plan that everybody waiting on. The plan seemed good in their eyes, and some of the people went eagerly to the king, and he authorized them to introduce practices of the heathen, and they built a gymnasium in Jerusalem. So just for the Christian, where the gymnasium at? When JC was there, the gymnasium there. So they built a gymnasium in Jerusalem in a heathen fashion, and submitted to uncircumcision, disowned the holy agreement, and they allied themselves with the heathen and became slaves of wrongdoing. So if you keep on reading that, just First Maccabees, I'm gonna read it. So I'll read some of it. When his rule appeared to Antiochus to be established, he conceived in his idea of becoming king in the land of Egypt, so that he might reign over the 2 kingdoms. So he entered into Egypt with a strong force, with chariots and elephants and a cavalry and a great fleet, and he made war with Ptolemy. We're going to find out who that is in a minute. This ties to the dark side of the story. He made war on Ptolemy, king of Egypt, and Ptolemy turned and fled before him, and many fell wounded, and they captured the walled cities in the land of Egypt and plundered the land of Egypt, right? Then here we go. 3.5 years, everybody talking about. After subduing Egypt in the 143rd year, Antiochus turned back, came up against Israel, entered in Jerusalem with a strong force, and in his arrogance, he went into the sanctuary and took the gold altar and the lampstand. All right, this is what the Romans supposed to have too. And he took the gold altar, the lampstand from the light, and all his furniture, and the table presentation bread, cups, the bowls, the gold censers, the curtains, crowns, and the gold ornamentations on the front of the temple. He stripped it all off, and he took the silver and the gold and the choice dishes, and he took the secret treasures which he found, and he took them all, went back to his country, massacred people, and spoke with great arrogance. And there was a great mourning everywhere throughout Israel. Rulers and elders groaned, girls and young men fainted away, and the beauty of was altered. Every bridegroom began to lament, and she that sat in the bridal chamber grieved, and the very earth was shaken over the inhabitants, and over the inhabitants, and the whole house of Jacob was covered with shame. So this is the prophecy of Daniel coming to fruition right here, right? So you want to get get the real gist of all that, you can keep on reading First Maccabees. This is what was taken out, the other part of Daniel, because they don't want you to know this, because they tell them take you to the New Testament, saying that all this stuff is, predicated going to the future. But Antiochus came, made a plan with the Israelites, a 7-year plan, and in 3.5 years, he turned back, came and destroyed Israel, just like Daniel 9:25, 26, 27 talking about. So anyway, I read where he says that after Alexander died, okay, let's go back to that. Let's go to right quick. I'm trying to lay a foundation before I go all the way in on this. So if you go to Genesis 35, you got to put everybody where they belong, right? So you go to Genesis 36, these are the descendants of Esau. And you get down here to verse 10 of 36. These are the names of Esau's sons: Eliphaz, the son of Adah, the wife of Esau, and Reu, the son of Basemath, the wife of Esau, and the son of Eliphaz were Teman, Omar, Zephno, and Gadam, and Kenaz. So the Zephno right here is Alexander's grandfather, Philip's father. Alexander's father was Philip, and Philip's father was Zephno. So you want to find out what's going on with Zephno, it's in the book of Jasher. When Zephno was held in captivity by Joseph in the land of Egypt. And when Joseph passed away, Zephno fled from Egypt, and he went and started ruling over the people in Macedonia, and the islands. They made him king. Then Philip came behind him. Alexander came behind him. So Alexander is an Edomite. Okay? And so when you understand all that, the pieces of the puzzle start coming together. So we're going to go and look at when Alexander died, his kingdom was divided into 4 parts. And Ptolemy got one of his parts, right? So let's look at that right quick.
When Alexander the Great of Macedon died unexpectedly in 323 BCE, he had amassed an enormous empire spanning from Egypt through Anatolia, Mesopotamia, and parts of India. The issue is, when Alexander died, he hadn't named a successor or heir to his empire, and instead left it to Crateros, which could have either meant the person Crateros or to the best or the strongest. So after his death, Alexander's empire looked like this: Crateros and Perdiccas as regents, Ptolemy as satrap of Egypt, Antipater as satrap of Macedonia, Antigonus as satrap of most of Asia Minor, Lysimachus as satrap of Thrace, Eumenes as satrap of northern Asia Minor, and Leonatus as satrap of Phrygia. These men who split up Alexander's empire were known as the Diadochi, or successors. After the death of Crateros and the murder of Perdiccas, and the death of Alexander's remaining family, Seleucus became the satrap of Babylon. Eventually, the satrapy period ends and the Hellenistic period begins, with Seleucus, Antigonus, Ptolemy, Demetrius, and Lysimachus all making themselves kings of their regions. If you want to know more about Alexander the Great and his empire, you can check out our video all about him. But now, let's follow Ptolemy to Egypt. Ptolemy I Soter, meaning savior, was a Macedonian general of Alexander. They had been childhood friends and were perhaps even half-brothers or related in some way, but we're not really sure. And after the death of his friend, he was allotted Egypt as his region to rule over, and he couldn't have been more thrilled. Prior to Alexander's conquest, Egypt was under the control of the Persians, who, according to Herodotus, had been intolerant of the ancient Egyptian religion and customs. So they had welcomed Alexander when he came through and pushed Persia out. Alexander embraced the Egyptian gods. He prayed at their temples and even built a temple to their mother goddess, Isis. Ptolemy wanted rule of Egypt because of the region's wealth and land and the ease with which it could be defended. Although Egypt had been given to Ptolemy to rule, Perdiccas, the self-proclaimed successor to Alexander, didn't trust him, and so he sent Cleomenes of Naucratis, who was the Egyptian finance minister for Alexander, with Ptolemy as a poorly disguised spy. Ptolemy knew he was a spy, and so he accused Cleomenes of fiscal malfeasance and had him executed. Ptolemy could now rule alone with no one breathing down his back, and during his reign, he participated in a few wars with the other Diadochi, and even stole the body of Alexander as it was en route to Macedon, and instead buried him in a golden tomb in Alexandria, which has not been found to this day. Before we get into the family shrub that is the Ptolemies, let's take a look at what Egypt looked like under their rule. The Ptolemaic dynasty began under the rule of Ptolemy, whose goal was to make Egypt great again. And he did that by putting the country back on solid economic and administrative footing. He didn't actively try to expand the borders of Egypt, but he did seize opportunities that arose. And that included occupying Cyprus in circa 318 BCE. In order to stay away from the influence of the priests and officials at Memphis, Ptolemy I moved the capital from its traditional place at Memphis to Alexandria. Alexandria, a city established by Alexander the Great, grew and flourished under the Ptolemies. The city became more of a Greek city than an Egyptian one, and with the port giving easy access to the sea and Greece, and with Greek becoming the language of both commerce and government. Alexandria was established as a great intellectual center of the ancient world, and it was Ptolemy I that founded the Great Library of Alexandria with the goal to gather every single text. According to ancient sources, the Library of Alexandria held up to 500,000 scrolls, and it said that Ptolemy had all texts seized when people arrived at a city, and would often give back copies rather than the original seized text. Ptolemy still respected the Egyptian priests and rebuilt temples destroyed by the Persians. He also established the cult of Alexander, and he introduced a new god, Serapis, the god of healing. Ptolemy I began the construction of the Pharos, or lighthouse, which was completed by his son, Ptolemy II. And the lighthouse of Alexandria became one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. The economy of the Ptolemies was one of the most closely controlled in history. Most of the land was royal land, and you needed permission to plant trees just as much as you needed it to cut them down. Ptolemy II introduced new revenue and property laws and taxes to the already existing administrative process of Egypt. But radical changes made by the Ptolemies included the cultivation of new crops, growth in international trade, and the production of the first official Egyptian coinage. Although in the 4th century the economy became an absolute powerhouse in the Mediterranean, after the first two Ptolemies, it slowly declined with corrupt bureaucracy, droughts, and political unrest, until Cleopatra.
Yeah. Notice the snozzes. So them snozzes on there, those noses, keep that in mind. That's what they call a Greek nose. That's a snoz. It's known for the Edomites. This is gonna play a part in the story. So see them snoz on there? They're not Africans, right? That's the 29th dynasty in Egypt, but they're not African. Okay.
Cleopatra VII was handed a kingdom with its economy in shreds. Ultimately, after paying Rome money her father owed and introducing denominations of Egyptian money, Cleopatra ended up stabilizing the economy of Egypt prior to its downfall to Rome. Other than finishing the lighthouse of Alexandria, Ptolemy II expanded Egypt by reclaiming the city of Cyrene, as well as regions in Syria and Asia Minor. He fought two wars known as the Syrian Wars against Antiochus I and II, and he battled in the failed Cremenidian War against Macedon. He expanded Egypt's trade by establishing trading posts along the Red Sea and enlarged the library and museum of Alexandria. Overall, Ptolemy I and II strengthened Egypt, both internally and externally. But this did not continue under any of their descendants until the last queen of Egypt.
See the red hair? 5 red hair. Keep that in mind.
Egypt, Cleopatra VII. She was the only one of her family to actually learn the Egyptian language, which meant she had no need of a translator and could communicate diplomatically without a middleman. Cleopatra often made decisions and acted upon them without consulting the council members of her court, which they did not appreciate. And during her 22 years on the throne, she maintained a state of balance and harmony in Egypt.
Okay, so we see right here, I just explained to you that Alexandria came from Esau, right? And then and Esau, let's go to Second Samuel right quick. All this stuff it's got to be laid out. You know what I'm saying? So I'm in Second Samuel. Shine light on something. I'm in Second Samuel. Okay, real quick. Chapter 7. Most High brings up the topic. I'm in chapter 2 Samuel, starting at verse 9. It says he sent Nathan to tell David this. I was with thee wheresoever thou wentest, and I have cut off all thy enemies, talking to David, out of thy sight, and I have made thee a great name like the name of the great men that are in the earth. Moreover, I will appoint a place for my people. So he got some people. We know that's the Israelites. And I will plant them, and they may dwell in the place of their own and move no more. Neither shall the children of wickedness. See that? So his people and children of wickedness, two different nationality of people. So we're going to shine a light on who these children of wickedness is, right? He says, neither shall the children of wickedness afflict them anymore as before time. So, and then I was reading over here in the book of Maccabees, right quick, and it tells you right here. Notice we're not in the beginning of the book when he created Adam, and Adam descended. We at the middle of the book, almost at the end. So in First Maccabees, it says, and it came to pass after Alexander of Macedon, son of Philip, who came from the land of Chechen, had utterly defeated Darius, king of Medes and Persia, that he reigned in his stead as he had before reigned over Greece. And he waged many wars and captured fortresses and slaughtered the kings of the earth. And he made his way to the ends of the earth and despoiled a multitude of nations. The whole earth was silent before him, and he became exalted, and his heart was uplifted. He mustered a very mighty army, ruled over lands and rulers of the heathens, and they paid him tribute. Afterwards he fell sick, and he knew that he was going to die. So he called in his distinguished servants who had been brought up with him and divided his kingdom among them while he was still alive. Alexander had reigned 12 years, so these distinguished servants is his kinsmen. So it's 4 of his kinsmen, and I showed you the Edomites. 8. His servants succeeded him, each in his own dominion after his death, and they all put on crowns, and they did, and as did their sons after them for many years, and they did much evil on earth. These are children of wickedness, right here. That's the Most High telling David about. They on the earth and came on earth. And they lifted their head up. These are the people he's talking about. So I showed you that Esau, the Bible tells you Esau married, right? We're going to get to this fire red hair, right? So Esau, in Genesis chapter 35, says, 36, I mean, my bad. 36 says, verse 7, 6. And Esau took wives and his sons and his daughters and all the prisoners of his house and his cattle and all his beasts and all the substance which he had got in the land of Canaan. And he went into the country from the face of his brother. For their riches were more than that they might dwell together. And the land wherein they were strangers could not bear them because of their cattle. Thus dwelt Esau at Mount Seir. Esau is Edom. So Esau intermingled with these giants at Mount Seir. They got fire red hair, red-headed giants. That's why it's called Mount Seir. So let me give you an example of that. I just showed you what Cleopatra actually looked like. She had fire red hair. She had the hook nose, right? So let's look at it like quick. Okay. See right here? There it is. See the giant? It's the giant they just found recently. See his hair? Known for that, fire red hair. So we're gonna keep going. Let's get back over here. Can y'all see that?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, so that's the giant right here, from Kandahar giant. So anyway, so okay, so with that being said, I was gonna show you. I showed you that he said that there was let me get it. Yeah. So that's how Esau looked it, right? Let me get over this. Let me get this out of the way. Okay. So we see right here behind me, when you come to Great Britain, look where they go. That's how you trace these people. Right here. This is let me get my camera. This right here is Julius Caesar. Notice the red. We're gonna deal with it in the red hair. Then we got behind me these kings of Great Britain, right? See all of them, we got the red hair. You can trace them. So we're gonna go into there right quick. We go Cleopatra. You got to excuse me. I might have to move these images around. Right, make my point. So we go Cleopatra right here. They go Cleopatra. See, she don't look nothing. Remember the nose I told you to pay attention to? This is how we know this is accurate depiction of her right here. And she got the red hair. Right? So that's her, that's Cleopatra. Supposedly the last pharaoh of Egypt, right? Then we go to Britain, right? We go to Queen of Britain. It's one of the queens of Britain. See the fire red hair? We're just gonna go through this right quick. Okay. Here go another one. You're going somewhere. That's these queens. All these, you can trace these people to one specific location. So I told you in 143 BC, the Israelites ran out in 143 CE. Esau dwelled in the land from 143 BC. The Romans ran them out in 70 AD, and then they was scattered into Spain, and a lot of them Saxons. That's who they are. They fled into Europe. They went into Europe. That's why Queen Elizabeth is telling you that her descendants ruled in Egypt, 29th dynasty, and they also ruled in Jerusalem. It's because of what I'm showing you right now, right? So anyway, we go one of the kings, British king. You can't hide the fire red hair, right? So in a deceitful way, they're trying to throw you in a cross with this red heifer, when really it's shining a light on them, because we know how the land got to be cleansed. The land got to be cleansed. The land got to be cleansed according to the people that shed the blood there, that killed Israelites in that land. That's how the land get cleansed, not by a red heifer. Okay, so keep going. All right, here we go. Like I say, let me show you why I'm showing you this too. See the red cape? Got the red hair, but see the cape? Okay, and that's in Cleopatra with the Romans. Romans was known for the red cape. So let's go right here. So this is anybody should know who this is. You would think it's Jesus the Christ, but that's Serapis. But you see how his hair red. And so that's why when they created him, that's why he got red hair. You don't have red hair just for the hell of it. He got red hair because they're making him in their image. He got the red hair when they concocted him. At the council there, see it. Okay. Give me 1 minute. Yeah, I hope I'll get my point across. So, here we go. See the red hair? See, all this not a cold. Now that the light being shined on this, we can see that it's not a coincidence. Here we go right here. See the red hair? This is JC. You ain't got red hair just for the hell of it. They showing you the truth of the matter. And they, their whole lives, their own lives being catching up with them. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, I showed you that because he said that. Let me read that. So I'm in Isaiah 63, right? So Most High is telling us that he's going to show his own hand if you listen to the scriptures and you rightly divide the scriptures. So Isaiah 63, right? Isaiah 63 says, 63:1. It's the Lord of hosts talking. Who is this that cometh from Edom, right? Edom, red, with dyed garments from Basra, that is glorious in his apparel, traveling in the greatness of his strength. I that speak in righteousness, mighty to save. Wherefore art thou red in thine apparel and thy garments, like him that treadeth in the winepress. So he's exposing Israel. So he's always gonna post up that red wherever he go. It's like I said before, when you understand that he told us that the time of the Gentiles is when you go back and look at Gentiles in Genesis chapter 10, or Chechem is the Romans. That's the fourth beast. And Greece, Javan, is the third beast. So the third and the fourth beast is Gentiles, time of the Gentiles. So these people, even Constantine was a Greek. Constantine tied to same people with Alexandria and all of them, the same people. But they want you to, they got you thinking that they something else, but this their appearance. That's why they so adamant. If you go, when you zero in on this and let it fermate, you're gonna start seeing it everywhere you go. They gonna post up this red hair, this red. That's who they are. They're adamant about that. So like I said before, you think it's a coincidence? This Christ that they concocted, Serapis, even Jesus Christ, all of them got red hair. Okay? Not a coincidence, because they conquered the world with that image, with his image. Right? Okay? So you see what's going on now. I had mentioned about we talked about this in a couple other videos. I'm going to show you this in closing. So they got this dark prophecy I told you about. People don't really know about. I'm exposing it, showing it to you right here. But got this mural that's been there forever and a day. Let me get it. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Can you see that? To the red head boy? This in Washington D.C. in the airport. So, like I was saying before, when I don't know how many people that's paying attention to this type of stuff, but when you go to George Guidestones, notice that George Guidestones got demolished all of a sudden, and now these murals they didn't came up. They didn't came up missing. They took them down. So my point is this: Queen Elizabeth just died, right? And you see all the turmoil that's going on around it. Well, look who's involved in it. You got a kid involved in that whole situation by Red Heifer. Harry. So, like I said before, you can. This for those who have ears to hear, and eyes to see. Everybody else just let it roll off like water on a duck back. It's cool. But I'm just shining a light on it. When I saw this, this video was sent to me by Mike, about these red heifers. They brought these 5 red heifers into Israel. So, like I said before, with everything else that's going on around, you can see that it's nothing is by coincidence. All of a sudden, Queen done passed. You got all this other drama going on. That throne that these people sitting on came out of Jerusalem in 70 AD when they was there. They brought it and they ended up over in Great Britain. Now they said they got a prophecy or they got ambitions. They told the Most High they was going to return, but their ambitions is to rule the world from Jerusalem for 1,000 years on the throne of David. As far as they're concerned, the throne that Queen Elizabeth was sitting on is the throne of David. It's got this stone of destiny up under it. So, like I said, don't take my word for it. Do your research. Google stone of destiny. You'll find out where it's at. Stone that's under the coronation chair that Queen Elizabeth was sitting on, and Prince Charles on it now. That stone's supposed to be the stone David used to kill Goliath with. Okay. So with that being said, see if anybody got any comments, questions about anything before we move forward and close out. Everybody good?
Yes, great lesson.
Okay. So yeah. So notice this little caption running on the bottom. If you feel the need to support this channel, then it'll be greatly appreciated. Okay. So with that being said, I want to say shalom, everybody. See everybody tomorrow at 8 o'clock for our clubhouse. So shalom, and another shalom.
Shalom.